is derived from the leaves of the coca plant. When cocaine enters the body, it has a strong effect on body functions by acting as an irritant on the brain. Large overdose of cocaine causes convulsions, then death. Cocaine causes unusual and often unpredictable feelings and actions. In his ignorance, Marty took that dare, little knowing the eventual horror that lay in the deadly white powder.
Marty, have you seen the painting shears I bought last week? Can't seem to find them anywhere. Marty, you don't seem right. I'm worried about you. There's something wrong. I'm going to take you down to Dr. Beaker this afternoon for a checkup.
No, I'm all right.
As his body gradually built up intolerance, he needed more and more of the drug.
Okay, I gotta get this going. Let's see, Spirituals. Background music. It is 8:01. Okay, good. That wasn't too bad.
All right.
I just made sure to set the countdown 2-minute pre-music on time. We still went over a little bit. Okay, now hopefully, if you're listening, okay, I gotta turn this off. It's too distracting. Welcome, Kiss Recovery 101. Oh, guess what, Sarah?
What?
Check this out. You couldn't hear it? Did you hear it?
Yes, I did.
Oh, it's on loop. Turn that off. Oh, funny, stop it. Yes, Kiss Recovery 101.
I love it.
That's the new sound effects, thanks to Ange and her inspiration. She came on that one week.
Okay.
And she made that sound. I didn't, I was staring at the mic, I wasn't staring at her. And I re-listened to the show, and there was this great, Kiss sound effect. I'm like, where'd the sound effect go? It was Ange. Well, then I was going to try to redo it the next week when I was on my solo reflection. I'm like, I can make that kissing sound. No, Sarah, I cannot make it sound like that voluptuous, long kissing sound. So now I got the pro stuff. Welcome. Live show right now, 8:02 Sunday. It is our special monthly edition of Risky Relationships.
Whoop, whoop.
Woo, I got my co-host with the most. Do you want to introduce yourself and read our post?
Yes, I absolutely will. Sarah here. Thanks for having me back again, of course. I always love doing these with you. All right, so tonight's Risky Relationships of dating in recovery. The should and should nots. Don't should all over yourself. The unwritten rules and unspoken guidelines. What doesn't work and why? Whether you're new in recovery, back at it, or a veteran, how the F do you keep it simple?
Okay, and this was inspiration from a listener who I just love the listeners that actually listen to the whole shows and will go back and listen to previous ones, and then they give me feedback.
Yes.
You know, because that just, it fuels me to continue doing what I do. But also I feel like connected. Like, oh, okay. Oh, you liked this. Oh, you didn't like this. Or, you know, like I totally open to whatever feedback, but it's just nice to have some feedback.
Yes.
Okay. So, yes, risky relationships. We got to, you know, like I think definitely quarterly or biannually, however you want to go about it, we definitely should be hitting the dating train of risky relationships.
Yeah.
It's always risky, whether you're in recovery or not.
Yes.
Okay. But it is summertime. Lots of new love stuff's going on, and
Oh, yeah.
I've noticed some have fallen on the wayside, and so now they're out doing the dating thing. Here's what's great, Sarah. I'm still enjoying being single. I have my moments, you know, fun, whatever moments, but for the most part, I've just marinating in the single awesomeness. But that's what's great about you being the co-host is you are in an awesome relationship. How long have you guys been together?
That's funny. I didn't even think of that. But yes, we are kind of opposites in that spectrum. So Dan and I have been together for, God, I keep saying 6 years. Maybe it's 7 years. It's been a long time. So, but it's so funny because I don't even think of myself in this, like, marriage of heavy, like, it's me and my husband against the world and we have this house and all these kids and all these things. Like, no, it's just this gentleman that I've been with for such a long time and we support each other and I do my thing and he does his thing. That's, you know, I live with you and I go visit him.
Mm-hmm. Well, and two things. What's your recovery date?
My recovery date is April 4th of 2021.
Okay. And Dan, your man friend, your man lover, whatever you want to call your partner.
Yeah.
What's his recovery date? Funny question.
Oh, I see where you're going with this. He is a normie. By the way, he hates that term.
Sure.
It actually makes him feel really, I think, I don't know if insecure is the right word, but definitely like the outcast. And I think it hurts his feelings. Mm-hmm. Not that he would ever word it that way, but that's definitely what it boils down to. So I've learned to just try to be careful. I think the way he's very happy and he sees everything that I've accomplished so far and he's very supportive of everything, but now he sees how much energy that this is consuming of like my time and what is starting to spark joy. And he wants to be a part of it, but at the same time, it's difficult for him not to be able to necessarily fully understand. Mm-hmm. And then when he does participate, have people call him names, you know, or whatever it is. So I don't know. But it's good. I can't say I would recommend that type of relationship between an addict and a normal addict, non-addict mind, I guess. But when you find somebody that you're safe with, and it's like, if it's not a new relationship, like I said, this has been 6-7 years and I've got 2.5 years of sobriety. That relationship prior to, like, I knew I was safe sticking to what I needed to change and him supporting that. Like, he doesn't keep alcohol in the house. He doesn't drink around me. If we go somewhere, I'm like, are you going to get a drink? Because then I'm starting to feel like the ass. It's been 2 years and we're with all his friends, you know? So it's, yeah, I mean, that is what kind of really makes the difference is the length of time that we've been together and versus a new partnership.
And it gives me hope. I'll be honest, Sarah, because looking at how you guys are and how it works, and it's so healthy, and it's so, you know, you're just, like, I gotta say, like, on this last 3 years, I kind of realized, like, I'm only going to be able to date people in recovery. And after that didn't really work out so well for me, then I realized, well, that's really, like, cutting off a lot of the world. It's a small world in recovery. Yes. Okay. Small pickings. And the ones that I want to pick usually are then decide to start dating somebody or whatever. But anyway, but I thought there's no way I was married to a normie, quote unquote normie. for so long that it didn't work. So, but then I realized, and then I dated someone not in recovery, just in full use. And then I dated someone in treatment that went into recovery. So I've seen 3 different facades of that. And when I've met you and gotten to know Dan, he is so endearing and heartwarming. And I think that the fact that he respects and understands, and like he doesn't need these labels, he doesn't need to control. Like you guys you're solid with each other. That's love. Like for me, that now has opened my eyes to maybe I could make it work with a normal drinker. And he's right. I think we all know that's that little jab of, that's a simple, harmless name in the sense of, you aren't a part of us. You're a normie, buggle, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. But I think most of the time we use that term, or I use that term just in our circles when it's just all people in recovery. Yeah. And then also, so I try not to say it outside of that. But also, all I have to do is flip the dime and say, well, what are they, what are the normies? Not Dan. Call us. Everything under the sun.
Yes.
So it doesn't.
Exactly.
So definitely, if you ever hear me use that term, and it's not endearing, I'm making a point to be like, you over there. Don't get in this conversation. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Anyway, so if you're listening, I do want you. Comment already. Let's see. Rick says, I'm enjoying my singleness as Bridges. Fantastic. Yes. Okay. So I like to do this live because I want you to interact. You listening, it warms my heart when you interact. Anyway, just say hi or just state that you're there, Rick. Thank you for joining us. Questions, comments. Now, this is going to be juicy tonight. So here's what I'm proposing to anybody listening. This wide, vague, general.
Did you get another one?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's
Sorry.
just the first intro one. But I have the alarms. Oh, thank you. I'm sure the alarms are still set, so 3 alarms will go off. We do not do the hot seat tonight, but in place of that, we will be doing pro tips. Ding! I have the sound effect for that. So all the hot topics that we talk about tonight, I have actual information, links, stuff you can go to actually do today if you want. And that worked for me. That I can say worked for me. I can't speak for anyone else, but it's something to try, and it's something simple. Keep it simple, stupid. Okay, so let's start off with a clip.
Yes. Oh, yes.
I'm on this whole tangent of things. Lots of stuff's been going on. Summer's just off the chain. So, Sarah, what would you say are 3... Actually, let's just keep it simple. One thing, because one of the questions that this woman in this clip, she's like the narcissist therapist. She's really fantastic. I think a lot of people who are on YouTube and look up anything on narcissism, she pops up because she's brilliant. And what's funny is, though, she now goes on to say that most of the people that people think are narcissists really aren't. So if you take the time to really sit, there probably wouldn't be declared as a narcissist, but there's something that's known as worse than a narcissist. They're called dark empaths. So I found that a key person recently that I wanted to label a narcissist, I was like, that doesn't really fit him because he doesn't make it obvious that he wants attention. He doesn't make it obvious he needs all this validation, and that's a big part of his stuff going on, right?
Yeah.
The dark empath, they need all those things that a narcissist needs. They need that. But they are empathetic. They know your feelings. They understand feelings. But there's a dark side to that is instead of feeling what you feel and having empathy with you,
they use it
against you. Okay, so 2 things we're going to talk about tonight along those lines is some red flags. What's one question this lady points out a couple questions that you can ask a person you're just considering dating or meeting or whatever, and it's how they respond can kind of give you a flag. Okay. The other clip we'll play shortly, I want to talk about flying monkeys. Now, I've heard this term before, and I had no idea what it was. I just thought, oh, yeah, when there's a circus going on, you break up, there's drama. You got the flying monkeys. I was thinking, they like to sit around and watch what's going on, fling poo, talk shit, whatever. But this term this is what real flying monkeys are. And oh my gosh, Sarah, now I have a label for all those folks that scattered and still fling poo.
That's so funny. As soon as you said the word flying monkey, I should say words, I instantly had the image of the Wizard of Oz, the Wicked Witch of the West who has the flying monkeys, her minions.
Beautiful.
I also, I'll just throw this out there because I know you were going to mention it. If you do hear some background noise today, we have a carpet cleaner in the house. So hopefully it's not coming through, but in the event that it is, we apologize.
Thank you for pointing that out. I totally tuned it out. So I'm mad in my own world. Headphones. Oh, yeah, hopefully it's not too bad. And if I would have had more time, I would have uploaded these clips directly to, but we're going to make it work. At least it's not the chaos of home.
Oh, my God.
Studios. Oh, I tried to re-listen to that one. Technical difficulties, dogs. It was pretty funny. But anyway, okay. So if you go on YouTube, Lisa Bilyeu. Anyway, it's her show. It's her YouTube channel. And I do like her. She's all about the women empowerment, whatever. But she has Dr. Ramani. Dr. Ramani is this woman that is just an expert, and she just explains things so well in a sense of I don't feel stupid when I listen to her.
Okay.
But she's like she knows the world of the narcissism and how they work. They're evil. Okay, they're gonna talk about evil needle. Here we go. So we're gonna play just a couple minutes of what's a couple key questions that just could alert you to somebody who might have those narcissistic tendencies. Okay, hopefully this works now. Let's see.
Evil enters like a needle and spreads like an oak tree. So where I want to start is, how on earth do we start to identify the needle so it doesn't penetrate? So what are the top 5 questions we can ask someone to figure out whether they are a narcissist, if they can answer the question or not?
Yeah, so everyone wants the magic questions I can ask. Like, listen, if those 5 questions existed, therapists would be using them all the time. I tell people a couple of things when it comes to how do I figure out, like, again, that idea of evil entering like a needle is that it is so subtle, right? But part of it, though, it's almost less of what the narcissist is doing and more of the story we're telling ourselves about what they are doing. So what I mean by that is this. If let's say you meet a new person, okay? I have to be honest with you, something I often ask people is I say, tell me the story of you. That's my opener. The other thing I ask people is, how do you spend your days? I do that for a couple of reasons. Number one, not everyone is sort of traditionally employed. And when we say, what do you do, it can feel shaming. So tell me how you spend your days. And they'll tell me how they spend their days, because they're often thrown off. They're expecting me to ask them a job. So there's 2 questions. Tell me the story of you. Tell me how you spend your days. Okay? You ask those 2 questions, you're going to get a lot of data. Pay attention. The other thing you need to pay attention to, this third thing's not a question. It's how are you feeling in your body? Without exception, and at this point I've talked to thousands of people who've been through narcissistic relationships. Every single one of them has said to me, it felt off to me. I just felt like a little uncomfortable, whatever it was. And I tried to talk myself out of that feeling. So it's that, in a way, it's almost an instinct. We had someone recently on my podcast who was talking about her meeting her deeply, malignantly narcissistic husband. And she wasn't attracted to him. And she thought the idea of kissing him, in her words, repulsed her.
Okay.
Her body.
I'm just going to stop it there.
Okay.
So, stands out. Why don't you, do you want to say anything first?
No, you go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I got squirrel mind.
Yep. Go.
But, okay, I love those questions. What are you doing with your days? Okay, so now here, we're going to bring these clips into the world of recovery. Yay!
Yes.
Okay, especially dating in recovery. Especially if you're new, trying to go to meetings, and, maybe you're not turned out. Maybe you're not seeking dating, but there's a lot of people in those rooms that are preying on you and they want to date, quote unquote, date you. Okay, so this is good information to keep at the forefront. So I like how she asked, what are you doing with your days? So if you're a person in recovery and you're trying to work a program, why don't you hear what they're doing to be working on themselves?
Yes.
Whatever that looks like. Okay. What goes to my mind, a person in recovery, is who are you accountable to? Or what do you feel accountable to? I want to hear that come out at some point. It doesn't have to be a sponsor. It doesn't have to be a mentor or coach. It doesn't have to be a counselor but I want to hear, like, for me, is my home group. That's who I feel accountable to. Okay.
You have accountability.
Yes.
You have some sort of accountability in your life and you want to hear that this other person has the same feelings of responsibility.
Yes. and they value their recovery enough to have something that's in their day. For me, I need a piece of recovery every day. So maybe, like I only go to my group once a week, right? But what am I doing on Tuesdays? I can tell you what I'm doing on Tuesdays. I can tell you what I'm doing on Wednesdays. Like, I have something every day that keeps me on my path. Okay. I love the other question of, tell me the story about you. Now, here's where I like to flip it and get all, that doesn't apply. What about people recovery? That's a whole can of worms you could be opening there. Okay. Especially if you're new. Like, for me, it took me a long time to get out loud and proud about my recovery. But in the beginning, I'd be like, now why you ask me that question? You are on a need-to-know basis. Okay. But let's just say so that's most of the time. But when I did start trying to, like, go out there, and this is me new, maybe dating or seeing someone or hanging out with someone, at that point, I had already been paying attention to who they were. Okay. I'm not a person that's just going to randomly go out and meet you. But I've been listening to them in meetings. I had been listening to maybe share, or I'm a listener. I would listen to side conversations. I'd hear what people would say about that person. So by the time we went to dinner or bowling or whatever, I already have I have a general idea of what people's perception of you are. So when I hit you with, I would have loved to know this question, tell me the story of you. Okay?
Yes.
And if someone hit me with that question, at that point, I would have already had some kind of mutual, they have an idea of me. Although I was very reserved, okay? So I would definitely not go into my whole story, but I would definitely share, like, recent relevant things that got me to this point, but I understand that for me, I would have a wall up with the trust thing. So I'd be fearful to share too much about myself that might make them feel like judge me, or say she's too messed up, or, ooh, you don't have your kids. What happened there? Ask too many questions. But here's what I'm thinking. Today, that's not a problem for me. So guess what? That, for me, is a clear sign that I'm okay to go dating right now. Because guess what? I am out loud. I have a lot of answers to both those questions, and I'm not ashamed or fearful. And honestly, I want to put them all over you and see how you react or respond. Okay?
Yes.
But looking back, hell no. If I've got walls up already going into that with just some basic questions, I'm not ready. I was not ready for dating.
No, and that's exactly what you're saying. You're not ready for dating. In regards to narcissism, actually, I feel like for me it would be a big red flag if I sat down with somebody and I was like, so tell me a little bit about yourself. Like, what's your story? And they gave me a real generic, basic start from A to B and didn't have anything personally added to it. Like, I struggled with addiction, or I grew up with an alcoholic mom, or it doesn't even have to be about addict stuff. It could be like, yeah, I literally grew up in like a zoo, whatever it is. If they don't have anything personal to add to it, if it's real generic or basic, instant red flag for me. I'd be like, this dude's bullshitting like nobody's business.
He's sugarcoating and sparkling and glittering his pile of shit.
Yeah.
But also, yes, when you say that, that makes me think of, okay, so now that I'm more knowledgeable on narcissists and that whole thing, okay, I had to learn the hard way, unfortunately. That's why it's good to do this podcast. That's why I'm doing all this research for y'all out there. There's a lot I didn't know.
It's so funny, and I'm going to send her this episode tonight, but I was just visiting with my girlfriend Barb, who you got to meet. We went out to dinner. I absolutely love her, and she herself we've always been very connected, where we have very deep conversations. And so I know a lot of personal things about her, including her relationships and how they have been, and she has been a part of multiple narcissistic relationships. There, when she was talking about, you have that feeling like something's off, something's not right. Literally, I shit you not, I just got to stop to see her today. We were just touching base on this real quick, and she's like, I don't even know what I was thinking. I wish I could go back and tell myself then what I know now. And I'm thinking, but then you wouldn't have learned. Like, it just doesn't work that way. But if you ever want to have an episode just on narcissism, you should ask her to come out, because she would be an excellent person with lots of knowledge.
Okay, and I loved how they pointed out, like, you don't even see it coming.
No.
They know what they're doing. And she'll go into watch the whole video, okay? Because, like, they go into, like, they'll ask you certain questions, and they're gonna keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And for me, back in the day, looking at that, I was like, oh, they just want me to open up and connect. And then I realized, luckily it took, by the third relationship, I had finally learned some skills, and I realized, okay, not gonna make this mistake again. But I started to be too open, and the minute he flipped something I shared out of, confidence or, in trust with him, and he turned it on me. And I was like, so I love how they point out, if it feels in your body off, icky, repulsive, whatever. Oh my gosh, I had that all over. Now again, it is different when you're coming off drugs and alcohol too. So I would tell myself, well, it's just me being pushed off, standoffish, prudish, whatever. But at the end of the day, no. Even after 6 months into us dating, I knew it wasn't going to work, but I kept. So I love that. Again, what's the story that you're telling yourself? Because I will hear those dings. I was hearing dings of things like, oh, wait a minute. So what's, tell me the story about you. I mean, I can look back now and like his whole story was he's always the victim. It's his family. It's his job. It's his boss. It's his dad. It's all the treatment centers he went to. No accountability or responsibility at all. He did not see that part. But at the end of the day, like, I wasn't even in a clear-minded. I couldn't see that. Those were clear, like, defensive. That's red flags all over the place.
Yes.
And still to this day, I hear this. He's still at that stance. It's sad. So.
No, absolutely. So I heard an alarm go off. Did we reach something? Okay.
Yes, sorry. Okay, so that first alarm there was to remind us to interact. Yes, Sarah, we're not just in a room together talking. I do love our chats. But let's see, Facebook user says, yes. Another Facebook user says, I asked someone that question recently. They responded with, what do you mean? Oh, interesting. Well, which question? So let's see. Let's play this out scenario, okay? Sarah, so tell me the story about yourself.
What do you mean?
So I guess I would respond, like where you sit today. Just give me a little short version of how we met. Like maybe let's pick a circumstance. We met at the women's book reading club. Mm-hmm. Sarah, we met there. Tell me the story of what led you up to just finding our awesome group. Pick something that maybe there's a connection. Be like, so what led you up? How'd you find your way here? Okay.
I like that. That was a better answer than I would have given.
What were you going to give?
I was just going to say, I was going to say it kind of a little bit about who are you and how did you get there? Like, what was your childhood like in just a couple words or sentences? What is your life mostly consisted of? Are you always working, out adventuring, vacationing, whatever? Like, kind of just give me like a little summary of who you are and how you became where you're at today. I love yours better because it's very specific. And also, if I were asked that to be like, oh, well, how did you get to this point today? Mm-hmm. That makes me go back, like without even thinking about it. Because obviously I didn't just wind up at a recovery place. Mm-hmm. So I have to backtrack a little bit to drop off all these little hints. I do like the fact that you mentioned a quick summary. Yeah. Oh my God. If they go on for some 20-something minutes and you haven't said a word, bye.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. That was the person that I was trying to kind of date, not really hang out with, date, but I know his whole story. You know anything about me. Okay, and I would say, too, let's say you just, because that was an easy go-to, because that's where we met, in a women's book club. Just keep it in general. But let's say it's a dating site. One of those ones. There's Tinder, Plenty of Fish. So, but, you both met on Tinder. Say, Tinder, like, how'd you find yourself? Because in my mind, I'm like, I got a story of how I ended up on Plenty of Fish. So, just wanted to put feelers out, let you go first. How'd you find yourself up on Tinder? Because I would say, this is why my mind is so cuckoo. But I would be like in my fantasy land here. I'd be like, because you're hot, you're sitting in front of me, whatever you were just texting. Why the hell are you on Tinder? because I know why I'm on Plenty of Fish. I know why I am. But give me a little story. So why is your fine ass sitting right here? There. Okay, so I made it realistic. Now you, after whatever you're going to say, ask me the other question. So, and I'm going to respond.
Okay.
This is fun. Role playing.
Oh, yeah, actually, it kind of is. So going off of that, I feel like, and I just want to touch on this because as soon as you start talking about asking somebody from a dating site, all these things, and I'm thinking, you lose it. But you saved yourself when you said, when you're sitting in front of me in person, I thought, okay, good, she's in person with this person. Don't ask these questions over a text message.
Oh, no.
Don't ask it in an email. You're going to get some bullshit, scammy, whatever. Yep. Never. Just go out on the date and in person, grill the motherfucker. Yes. Get their instant response. Don't let them have the time to sit there and create some stupid ass story. Yes. Okay, sorry. So I just wanted to point that out. Okay, what was the other question?
What are your days like?
Oh, yes. Okay. So, Bridge, can you tell me, like, what do your days look like? Like, what do you do?
What do you mean, Sarah? I wouldn't respond like that, but just
yes,
how
I
do you
know.
respond to that?
What's a typical day? Like, what do you do during the weeks versus the weekends? Is it pretty much the same, or do you have like, what keeps you busy?
Ooh. See, beautiful. Right there. You just gave me a few things I could go off of. Okay, what does my weekday look like? What do my weekends look like? Nights, days, then thinking about, okay, like, what is my routine? What's like a daily? You're right. That's perfect. Because that's what I'll ask is, what's your schedule look like? Or, if I'm considering to go hang out with somebody. But also, okay, that's the hot seat alarm, which means we got to get to the pro tips. Okay. And I really want to try to get into the flying monkeys thing, but it can be saved for a later time. Okay. So let's do the pro tips. Okay, and we got more feedback. This is awesome. It says, Facebook user said, I said, are you in trouble? Okay, so they said, what do you mean, are you in trouble? What do you do for work? By trouble, I meant, are you on drugs? Oh, jeez. Okay, that's a flag. And then, let's see, Rick said, that has been a problem in the past. While being completely transparent, I've had people silently go away. Being a widower and sharing that has made others uncomfortable. Oh, yes. And Facebook user says, and went into say because I am in recovery. Okay. You look like you want to respond, and then I got to respond too.
Nope, I'll let you touch back. I want to actually go about the widower comment.
Yeah.
So he mentioned that if he brings up that he is a widow, it brings negative feedback.
Silently go away.
Yep. Okay, so ghosting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ghosting.
You know what? And this is such a stupid cliche response. Goodbye. You don't want those people who can't even have a normal conversation. And I'm sorry. I know I come off kind of crude sometimes, but people who are widows or widowers is not that uncommon. Mm-hmm. And if you can't even handle the basic necessity of, hey, everybody dies at some point in your life, and you happen to be with somebody who is dealt with a very personal, close death, what are they going to be like for any other situation that comes up that's very, like, if you need somebody to lean on, they're clearly not that person. Mm-hmm. They will never be that person, and they got a lot of shit to do.
Oh, beautiful, Sarah. Yes, Rick. Sarah's actually very on point. I would say the exact same thing. Then you're not wasting any more time with that person. Yes. If they can't handle heavy conversation, like, I'm guessing that he's not like, I'm a widower and that here's my whole story of all this, But I love that he's putting it out there.
Yeah.
And like this last comment said and went into... I'll just say that because I'm in recovery. So I put it out there right away. Okay, here's a funny thing. Facebook has a dating thing, which I always forget to check. But I did create a little profile or whatever, and I always keep it simple, period. Yeah. And I put it right on there. Oh my gosh, I probably should update it. I put something on there like, and I'm a person in recovery, or I'm recovery out loud, and if you know what that means, we're on the same page. And if you don't, then, I something like that. Like, it's like a cue out there to, like, anyone in recovery is going to know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
I can't remember what I said, though. Something clever enough to be like, oh, I said we'll already be on the same page on that sense, But I would, when I would look at other people's, like, profiles that would be messaging me, first thing I'm looking at to see is if they're drinkers.
Yes.
And then based on, like, what's in their profile, like I said, I'm opening up my idea to, like, a Dan, like a normal drinker. I could totally do that. Like, if I could find a Dan who's respectful, understanding, mindful, you don't have to not be yourself around that person. But I put it right out before I would even bother going to meet someone in person, like, I'm a person in recovery. And I would love for them to say so a normal drinker, if there's like, oh, what does that mean? Because a lot of people, I never knew what that meant. I was like, I think cancer, or I think, recovering from some other health condition, right?
Yes.
So I love when someone's like, oh, what recovery, what does that mean? But here's the thing. There are so many people out there that are so uncomfortable by the thought of someone being in recovery. Even if it was cancer, it scares them. They never ask me. It's interesting. That's why, I just don't even...
Weed through them.
Yeah. I just don't even give too much energy. It's not that I'm trying to be rude or whatever. It's just I don't have the energy or time. If you're not even going to ask me what that means,
Yes.
just to see the awkward face. It's funny. I think I'm too transparent sometimes. Okay. Anything else you want to say?
Nope, go right ahead.
Okay. So, let's get into the pro tips, because we're going to have a lot to go off of on that. So, we're not going to have enough time, but I wanted to hit on step 13, okay? A lot of people have heard that term, but what I want to talk about is the shouldn't, the should nots. Don't shit all over yourself. Here's some key things. There's unwritten rules, right? I've gotten all those written. When you told me not to do something, though, I learned the hard way why there's good rules, but they're different, okay? That's the key thing, is when there's these guidelines or restrictions or rules or whatever, put things into a perspective of, I don't ever push that shit on other people, okay? First, I want to get to know them, anyone I'm working with. I'll ask her, okay, well, how long have you been dating, or how was your previous relationship? I'm going to ask more questions about getting to know my person before, like I've been told with 3 previous sponsors, no dating for a year. I'm like, what the fuck? No dating I was a person to recover 17 years. That means no dating for 17 years? I don't think so. So like, I'm going to be single forever, which is funny now that I want to be.
Yes.
But yeah, so I'm like, no. So I feel like the timeline is going to be what makes sense to that person. So I remember for me to finally, just after the last shitty relationship, and it got so bad, I realized I'm going to give myself 3 solid months. 3 months of really investing and dating in myself, okay? And I was so used to, like, not doing that I really had to work hard at it. And I really had to be the power of no, and really put out some boundaries right away and say, so we ain't having sex, okay? I'm not going to be, I'm not going to be, I'm man-hating right now, just so you know. I got out of a shitty relationship because they'd still want to date me. I don't know why.
Yeah, you can be friends, but you don't want a relationship right
But
now.
I was frank with that person. I said, but here's the thing. Here's where I'm at. If I'm even going to consider dating or relationship down the line, I want to make sure we're honest and we're open and we have those conversations, okay? No matter how heavy. And I put that right out there. It was too much down there. He ran for the hills. I told everybody I'm whatever. But so I think, so my point is, one of the should nots I would definitely say is definitely don't go out there making a point to start dating just because somebody told you not to do it. Just because I'm a rule breaker, let me tell you. But if at the end of the day I'm doing stuff that's harming me, it's not smart. But I like the idea of you have all the time in the world to date, right? And as me, a mom with kids, I have these relationships with these little people I need to focus on right now. Because guess what? When I was going through that divorce, we just changed their whole lives. And they had no say in it. And here I was off trying to distract and validate myself. And meanwhile, I should have been putting more of my energy and my relationships into my children, investing in them. That's where I could have stayed focused, and I didn't. And I live whatever. I moved on from that. But realizing that now I was so off that I bet it was a pattern. It was a cycle that I had known since I was 17 years old. 17 to 17. That's funny. Weird coincidence. But since I even started dating or started a relationship or got married, I didn't know how to be alone. So let's get to the pro tips.
Okay, can I actually start with a pro tip?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. This just kind of came to me as we were talking here. So, speaking of the should and shouldn'ts for dating, when you are getting to know somebody, oh my god, my brain's like escaping me right now, and I'm just going to keep talking to fill time.
Here's the pro tip sound.
Oh, yes.
You got okay?
Okay, good. That's what I needed.
Ding the thought back in.
Yes. Come back to me. You keep talking, and as soon as it comes back into my head, I will jump all over it.
Okay. If we can, I might just say, like, we'll cut it. We'll be done at our hour at 9 o'clock. But if we run over, I will say stay on for the flying monkeys thing. 'Cause I'll tell you, it's so worth it.
Beautiful.
Some personal tangent stuff. Okay, so here's what I wanted to get. Pro tip number 1. And I actually, it's funny. I was posting these, and I'm like, I got to do. Oh, do you remember?
Yep.
Go ahead, take it now.
Timelines. What you mentioned about giving yourself a timeline. I think that is the most reasonable and genuine thing anybody can do for themselves. Whether it's giving themselves personal time or if they're getting into a relationship, set a timeline with yourself. Okay. Be realistic. There's always a honeymoon phase. Everybody's sweet and you're really attracted and things are going great and you just love it, and so you let those little red flags of he got real angry over this and all of a sudden whatever happened. No, keep a timeline. If in 3 months he or she succeeds at hitting 3 red flags,
Love that.
make another timeline. If you really think that this person's worth it, okay, we're here, so maybe if they're open to talk, like maybe talk with the partner, say, hey, I noticed these things. They freak me out a little bit. What's your thoughts? Or is this something I'm gonna have to worry about? Get that open. If they're open to conversations and talk and you're thinking it's okay, then fine, pursue it. Otherwise, pull the plug. Also, give yourself, if you do the second time, so now you invested 3 months, now you're gonna invest another 3 months. For people, 6 months feels like a freaking lifetime.
Yeah.
It is not a lifetime. And then fear of being alone comes into play, and they think, but I've already invested 6 months of my time, so I can make the rest of this work for whatever. No, pull the fucking plug, because now that idea of how much time that you've put into something and committed, that does not rule you, and your fear should not rule you. You need to understand where your boundaries lie and be able to know that at any point in this relationship, if something is crossed and you're being disrespected or, heaven forbid, anything else worse, you need to know that, okay, this is my backup plan and I'm going to go hit the road because I'm not going to put myself into this situation any further.
Beautiful. That is so beautiful, because that 6 months, I knew it was done. But I had already invested 6 months. Hardcore. And I'm like, and I talked about, what's that conversation I was having with myself for this person? I think it's a huge flag if you're already making excuses for this person.
Yes.
I didn't even ask. I wouldn't even ask. I would already excuse them in my own fucking head.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a big red. No, you're not ready. I was not ready to be dating. Okay, so first pro tip is
Timelines.
set timelines, deadlines, goals, whatever you want to call it. Oops, wrong one. But seriously, what's that movie? 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Oh.
Remember? It was like 120 dates or 90 dates or something before they would have sex.
Oh, I can't remember. I haven't seen that movie since it came out.
I just remember that stuck out because they had a cute calendar and what qualifies as a date or not.
Okay.
And so my timeline, literally, I knew in my mind it was going to be 30 days. Okay, I said, like, in my mind, I did not tell him, this person that I dated for like,
no, you keep it to yourself.
But I thought for sure at least a month. I'm not going to do any sexual stuffs, and just see what happens. And he was all, yeah, I'm totally understanding. I totally get it. He knew I was in the relationship that was scary. And here's the funny part. After like the 30 days that had gotten there, I started to be okay with him telling people whatever you want to call me. I don't know. I just didn't like the labels or pictures and stuff. Literally, I remember I was done going and picking his ass up in the middle of the fucking night because his ass didn't have a car, right? I'm like, I don't really want to hang out with you that much, you know. I'm not going to pick you up at 2 in the morning. And I was like, you know what? I messaged him because I was about to fall asleep. I'm like, first of all, I had already not had sex for how long. I didn't care about that. But I was like, I'm really tired. And I just don't feel like coming downtown Minneapolis to come get your ass. And in his mind, I think it built up this idea of we're going to hook up. Which, by the time I probably got there or got back, who knows if that even would have happened. But he was pissed. Because, like, then the next day, I was like, yeah, you're going to have to just do what you usually do, which is he takes the bus or he gets a ride for somebody else and, you know, whatever. He has a million friends, you know. But all of a sudden, I just noticed there was some distance, you know, some space. And then before I knew it, like, he was done. I'm like, you're done? What do you mean you're done? I don't get it. And he's like, it's text message, mind you. Couldn't even pick up the phone. I was like, what do you mean done? Like hanging out? Like, with spending time one-on-one with each other or whatever? Like, what are you talking about? You know, and he's like, yes, I just can't take it. You know, too much of this stresses me out. And I'm like, what stresses you out? Because on my side, yes, I was like, I had been totally open or whatever. He says, I beat myself up too much about the things that you say. And I'm like, but who, that doesn't make sense. Who are you talking to? Because it obviously wasn't me. You know, I asked him, but anyway, so what happened was, but here's the funny part. Not even a week later, he got with, what are they called? Low-hanging fruit. You know? Because he had been bragging to me, like, while we were hanging out, he'd brag to me about this girl. Because they talk about this in the video, too, how females, I think it happened with males, too, but the male friend isn't attractive until they start dating a female. I think he already knew this mentality. Because I think that's why he kept going around telling everybody we're together, which we weren't. Okay. I'm like, why does he keep doing that? At first, I thought it was kind of cute. Then I realized he liked the attention because all of a sudden his lady friends, he was telling me how they were coming on to him. So the one that he kept talking about a lot, he was with the next day, which I actually like her. I still do to this day like her. Oh my God, we got 15 minutes left. Okay, so let's jump into pro tip number 2. Now, I love these ones. So I like to ask myself questions, okay? Ask myself questions, and it's okay. It's okay if you don't know, if I didn't know the answer right away. That just gives me more time to really sit down with myself. Oh, and your timeline thing, I would also suggest this as well with this pro tip is sit down with someone you love and trust, okay? Someone that you look up to or someone that you like what they're doing or whatever, whoever that is. Go over that stuff with them, you know? Put that timeline together. Yeah. And just get some feedback, you know? Like, you don't have to take their advice. You can leave it there, but at least get it out loud. And get some feedback on someone who does genuinely love you, care about you, and that you trust. You know, you respect their feedback.
Yes.
Constructive conversations. And then, so pro tip number 2 now, I just realized both of these sites are psychology sites. Okay, so if you go to psychcentral.com/relationships signs of trauma bonding, okay, they have a questionnaire. Here's what's interesting. Sarah, I find that most of the people that get together, especially new in recovery, they're both new. See, 13-stepping has a different, to me, has different, it's not linear. So if you're both new, like I was new in treatment, I met the person in treatment, that's not 13-stepping because we both didn't know what the fuck we were doing, right? Yeah. That's different. Now, where 13-stepping is fucked up, Q, is like, here's a question for you, is you have been in the program, right? Q question. And you know what you're doing. Okay, you come in, you got all this knowledge, you share this inspirational story, but you're preying on new people who have no idea what the program are, what the steps are. You're inviting them to your house to come learn about the steps. You're inviting them to do service work and do voluntary, watch kids thing. Okay, you know this program. You know those vulnerable adults coming in, and you are mind fucking them. That is 13-stepping. And I don't care, like, you could literally, it doesn't even matter the amount of time of recovery you have. Because here's the thing, I know people with 15 years of recovery, they ain't got a fucking program. They live out loud, they preach, they know some pages of the books, they know, they look at the steps, make sure they know the steps. They don't fucking live and love in these steps. They don't know this program.
Dry drugs.
Yes. Okay, so the amount of recovery time doesn't matter. So I technically would have 20 plus years. I don't even count those. I count my 3 years when I did the work. I worked the steps, the program, right?
Medallion.
Yes. Yes. So 13 stepping is different when you maybe you got a year under your belt, and you know what you're doing. You know that new person. That girl coming in with a glow, she's doing well. She's got 4 months. She's got 5 months. She comes out to you. Flip this. It's a guy. Okay, there's a hot guy. He's doing so well. He's building confidence. He's getting his joy back. He comes out to me. Believe it or not, there's been a couple times where I had to say I'm the knowledgeable person here, and I don't care how charismatic and smart he is. I don't care how he was outside of the rooms. I know he has just got a year. I know I have 3 years. I'm not going to go there,
I'm just going to jump in because I'm going to touch base with what we talked about earlier about the questions, like how do you spend your days? This would be a perfect opportunity to sit down with somebody if you're going out on a date and you're getting to know somebody and you say that and they say, I work a program. I go to meetings. I do all this. Oh, that's great. How much, is this new to you? Have you, been doing this for a while? And you find out that they have less than 6 months. You should politely excuse yourself from the relationship, encourage them to continue theirs. And if you want to be friends, that's great. But if you're going to prey on them at that point still, that's on you.
100%. And there was many times where that's why I prefer to do female with female, even though I go both ways. But if there's at all an attraction, okay, and a lot of times I'll just feel it from their end. I know so I'll still be here as a support, but I know someone else will need to guide you and be there along with you for all the other stuffs. But here's the thing, trauma bonding. So, sorry, I went into that whole thing about 37 because it still pisses me off. I still see it all over the place.
I know, I'm awful.
But my point was trauma bonding. That is the newcomers, they come in, and that's what happened to me. I would just bond because we're both in the shitstorm together, so we feel like, we got this attachment. So you want to read what a trauma bond is, Sarah. Just read that little paragraph.
I think I can handle this. All right. A trauma bond is an attachment that develops from a cycle of physical and or emotional trauma followed by positive reinforcement. Trauma bonds most commonly develop in romantic relationships, and leaving these relationships can be really difficult.
Mm-hmm. And here's the worst part is the evil 13-steppers know that there's that bonding. So they'll share their heartbreaking story or their troubles with their ex or whatever to purposely bond you. You think you're bonding. They're totally manipulative.
Yeah.
I don't even know how they exist, how they can continue to move on to different places. They get caught up in one place, they pop over to another. But I'll still hear their name and this new girl saying their name like, oh, I bet this new friend. It's my first meeting here. I'm like, that's not your friend. Get his full name and look up he's got a reputation. There's a reason he goes by a nickname.
Yes.
Okay? And he got caught up a few times. And I still, anonymity. But here's the thing. I don't go to meetings with him. And he don't share nothing with me that I got to keep it. So whenever anybody comes around my circle and mention his name, I will gladly offer information. And I leave it there. I've actually had a sponsee that I said, well, here's what I do know. Just happened last week. And I left it there. I literally didn't go into any drama or any this is what I just stepped to the facts. He did this. He slept with this girl. He had her watch his kids. And there's 3 other like that. So once he sleeps with you, just know you're not the only one. And I know you think that it's a mutual understanding that that's what it is. But just so you know, there's 3 other right now that are just like you. And she was like, oh, no, I got this. This was more for me. She had been so manipulated. She really believed that she was doing this for herself. And, and then she didn't talk to me for a couple months, which was fine, because I'm not going to overstep my boundaries. But we talking now, and yeah, it was hard to hear that truth, right? So you don't want to feel like you got taken advantage of, but don't feel bad because this is what that motherfucker does. Well, I'm about to put a flyer up real soon. Anyway, so if you go on the website, I think it's clear to understand and ask yourself, there's a list of things that you can ask yourself, or if you're in the situation now, or if you're thinking about dating, here are key things that you'll be able to recognize if this is really you guys connecting, or if you're trauma bonding. Okay? And let's do the last tip. Unless you had something else quick that you wanted to say. I will share the link later. I'll comment and post the links.
Fantastic. So random just thought of the
can
day.
tell you it's something to
I
say.
know, because I don't know why. I love sharing little things that like I hear or pick up throughout the day, even if it's completely irrelevant like this topic is. So I heard you reference constructive criticism. Yeah. I recently came across this year, and this is how I have to share with everybody because it's so important to me. Instead of looking at being constructively criticized, because you're still being degraded, let's get real. That's what it boils down to. Why don't you shoot for a course correction? So you are there is not even a negative word in that.
Yes.
You are literally correcting, so just changing the course that you are currently following or path, whatever you want to call it, but there is no degrading or making somebody, yes.
Ooh, I love that. Yes, and that is so important to rewords. I still to this day, when I hear a more positive take on it,
Yes.
I flip it because it completely changes my mentality. Here we go. Now I'm going to go on another tangent. For years, the first couple years sharing my experience with the Hope story, I shared what my truth was then was I have this dark spot in my body. I can literally see it. It's this void that I used to fill with drugs and alcohol. And now I realize that and it gets empty and bigger and darker if I don't fill it, if I'm not mindful of it. But now I fill it with my friendships and my relationships with, people in my circle and my families. But I heard the minimalists, nothing to do with recovery, minimalism, they were like, don't say void, because that sounds like this, empty, dark space. He's like, look at it as more of like this empty space that you want to fill with things that you love. Like you wouldn't go to this beautiful landscape and be like, in Montana, and be like, oh, look at this void.
This desolate.
Yes. You say, look, this beautiful space in nature, this beautiful area. And so now when I share my story, I make a point to say, I look at, instead of saying that dark, empty void, God-sized hole, I hate when people say that. Fucking G.O.D. out of there. But, the emptiness is because I'm seeking something that wasn't already within myself. Now I fill it myself, mind you. I don't even need those relationships. I mean, I do. I want them, but I don't need them. But on the other side is now it's like, I look at it literally daily. I'm like, ooh, I'm starting to feel, edgy or whatever. And I'll say, oh, I got to fill the space with some things. What am I going to fill it with today? Okay, get out of the house. Paint some pictures or something. Okay,
third tip.
Third and final. So I think it's important. Again, a lot of these things, before you're thinking about dating, are questions to be asking yourself and to share them with another human being that you trust. Not someone you're trying to date. Not someone you would think about dating. Okay? And be careful, because I've shared some things just to get the other perspective, and all of a sudden they thought they got the wrong idea, thinking I'm sharing it with them because they're going to give me, I'm interested in them.
Yes.
No. Okay, last final pro tip. We'll zip through the memes and then stay on later for an extra 10 minutes. I want to hit the flying monkeys thing.
Yes.
I used to hear that not my circus, not my monkeys thing.
Not
or
my
whatever.
monkeys, not my circus.
Not my monkeys, not my circus. That's what I thought it was. No, it's similar. Something similar, but very, very defiant.
I use that at work all the time.
I love it. I just picture monkeys playing poop. I don't know. And they're full of shit. Playing in the shit. They like the shit. It's pretty. Okay, then final pro tip. So trust is so important, right? Okay, so go to awarenessact.com. Okay, 10 red flags that someone you cannot be trusted. Okay, so there's 10 flags. Go to this website, awarenessact.com, 10 red flags that someone cannot be trusted. I'm going to post that link, but they will give you 10. I'll just read a couple, but go read through that whole article, because here's what I love about it. It has nothing to do with people in recovery. Okay, so these are great questions you can ask yourself, being a person with a substance use disorder. Maybe you're just even considering recovery or whatever. These are 10 questions anybody should ask themselves if somebody's worth, trustable. Okay, so a couple of things, it says lack of eye contact. Now that is a myth. Okay, there is some truth to it, but you won't know the lack of eye contact thing unless you actually have known that person. Now, they used to have this, they're looking off to the right thing. And actually, there's this great guy. He's a body language reader person for like the feds or detectives. Like he's whatever. He says that's a myth, because a lot of times, especially if people are first meeting someone or they're having anxiety or they're nervous. And for me, it's this it used to be, I'm getting better at it, it's a sign of disrespect if I'm staring at you in your eyes. And especially with males, in my house, you got hit. So I never looked at anybody in their eyes for too long. Okay, but you see, look at, I can still look at your eyes. But you're someone I love and trust. I will let you into the souls of my heart, my soul, to my soul. But for the most part, it's awkward. I'm not gonna stare in your eyes. So I don't know about that one. But there's inconsistent behavior. Boom. Okay, that's a big one in recovery.
Yes.
You know, there's reasons, and then there's just, this lady at the video, she said, okay, three times, you get 3 times. Once, it was an accident. The second time, it's a coincidence. The third time, they're inconsistent on whatever it is. It's a behavior.
Oh, beautiful.
I gotta talk about that. So the first time, it's a accident. The second time, they're inconsistent, whatever. It's a coincidence, but the third time, they have it's a pattern.
Okay.
It's a pattern of their behavior.
I like
Boom, look at that. So, okay, there's negative body language, which, that could be hard to read too. Dishonesty, boom, that's a huge one.
Yes.
Okay, the lack of empathy, that's a big one if that's a core thing for you. You want to read the other ones?
Actually, I was just going to touch real quick on that dishonesty piece. Yeah. If you are seeing somebody and you're infatuated and you think this is the one and all these things are going great, except for you catch them on a lie. Mm-hmm. And you call them on it and they have a great excuse. Mm-hmm. If they're not willing to just admit, yeah, I made that up, or I was afraid to tell you something because whatever. Like, if they're not willing to take ownership that they even fucking lied in the beginning, get rid of their ass, because they're going to lie about everything fucking else.
Oh, yes. Okay, and I don't agree with withholding the truth means you're lying. That is not fucking true, okay? Because there's so much truth to my life at some points. You know what? I'm saving you, whatever. But I feel like, yes, I love that. So if someone, I would have people in my life that would be like, you fucking lied. You lied about this. I go, no, I didn't. This is what I told you. Therefore, but maybe I didn't give you all the information that puts you on that path. But if they're already attacking me and don't even care enough to understand maybe why I withheld certain court, whatever, bullshit, then, they're showing themselves. They're not worth my time. But if they're like, they call me out, I'll be like, but here's why. I didn't tell you that this is not my first time.
Admit, yes, I did.
Yeah, I didn't tell you that this wasn't my first time trying recovery. I have reused before.
Yes.
Something like that.
Yeah, as long as you're willing to take ownership, then yes, sit and listen for the reasons.
Understanding.
Understanding.
Compassion.
There you go. All right, a couple more here. We'll just touch on gossiping. You know that I hate this. Mm-hmm. This is one of my biggest red flags, especially when I was running the sober house. I would tell the girls, whatever is going to come out of my mouth, you can know 100% is not gossip or whatever. I always speak my truth. Mm-hmm. And also, I don't sugarcoat shit. I tend to offend a lot of people, but I hate when people pussyfoot around and they don't just say what needs to be said. Mm-hmm. You can give somebody hints all day. I had one of my best girlfriends, I think I told you this story, she did not take hints. None. To the point where I had a party years ago and all these people left or they were passed out or whatever. It was her and I, the last two up, in my house, walking around, cleaning everything up. She was talking to me. I was hinting for her to leave the house because I was going to go to bed.
Minnesota nice.
Yep. To the point where I had shut off every single light inside the house and had the whole house clean and was literally put my foot up on the stairs to walk up to my bedroom. And I looked at her and I was like, get out of my house or go home or something. And she's like, oh. And, I didn't mean it to be mean, but I'm like, I can't keep giving hints anymore. I'm tired. I'm going to bed. So whatever you're going to do it. And I don't know. I love her to this day because me and her still joke about it. Yeah. But if you are around anybody and they're saying shit about somebody else, you know damn well they're saying that shit and about you to somebody else. Mm-hmm. So anybody who's gossiping, run for the hills because they are not a good person.
And let me clarify, it is not gossip if this is a person that you care about. Maybe there was a breakup, you care about both those people. It is not gossip if you come to me and be full disclosure, like, just so you know, this is what this person's saying. You give me a chance to tell my side. Like, that's who I could tell was the Flying Monkeys, because they didn't even ask what happened. They went off of what he said.
Yes.
And what's baffling to me is that they feel this loyalty to that motherfucker who they didn't even know before me. Sorry.
Yep.
They feel some fucking loyalty to this asshole. Sorry. It's coming out just because this recently happened. So they're not going to tell me what he's saying about me or what he said happened or his side at all. I get nothing of that or any of what he's saying. You know, I don't even get a chance to, or they don't even ask my side. Oh, hey, what did happen? Why did you get that restraining order? Something must have been up there because the police sided with you. But here's at the end of the day was, it still hurts me when they still to this day pretend to be my friend, pretend to be nice and fake to my face, even though I know they're aligned with him, and still today have never asked. I'm sure they've heard all the things. Just pick one thing, please. I would love to know one thing he's fucking said that's completely changed your mind about me. Because what is said in my mind, and they say in this video, is obviously he believes whatever the fuck they told him. Yeah. Even, that guarantee in their mind, they're like, well, that kind of sounds a little off, or a little something's maybe missing there. But they didn't even ask, what's the missing piece? Me. Okay, sorry.
Nope, there's always two sides to the story. I think it's important too with gossip, and this is where I hate to be a preaching type person, but that's my other thing. Anything that comes out of my mouth about another person is something I am willing to hold myself accountable to and tell that person directly. Mm-hmm. Either we've already had this conversation, they need to hear this, or I'm just passing along some information to somebody for some safety reasons, whatever it may be. I have no intentions to cause harm, and I would be willing to have this conversation with the person, the subject of the conversation.
Mm-hmm. And so they can go on the website and they can read the rest of them, because they're pretty basic and they're pretty straightforward and they're real, and it's a good place to start anyway.
Yes.
But on that gossiping note too, I would say that it's not gossip when I got called out for gossiping. It's hilarious. Okay. I got called out for gossiping on Facebook, which was great because, first of all, it allowed me, I already knew this person was struggling, but it allowed me to see who my people in my circle were, because they started to call me right away, and they go, do you know this person's got you tagged?
Oh, yes, I heard about that.
Yes, I had a few awesome, amazing people. See, right away, when shit goes down in a breakup, you know who is in your inner circle. That's how you know the difference between an inner circle and the outer circle. Like, I still care about the outer circle people, but I also know where they align when shit goes down. But they called me. They're like, do you know this person? First of all, I had no, immediate, oh, I got a red flag. I got to go call her out and call her on her bullshit. First of all, I already knew she was struggling. But second of all, eventually it got filtered out and people realized the thing. But here's what happened. It's important. It's not gossip when I'm her sponsor, or was at one point. The other person is a sponsor and or was at one point, and we're come together and we're having a conversation because we care about this person. We're not gossiping. First of all, you included us in your circle, and we're just coming together to find a new way to love and support you. But I understand, see, I'm still to this day not even mad at her for calling me out because I know she's struggling, right? But the problem is, what happens is people align with so many fucking people with no fucking boundaries. Oh, they don't have boundaries. They don't give other people boundaries. And I'm not a mind reader, right? I'm pretty straightforward as well. Yeah. So with your friend with the light situation, Sarah, we're in Minnesota here. Okay. Sometimes, like DBT, that's the one thing I realized, especially in my marriage, I was terrible at, is I would give hints. I would do these things like, we've been married how long and you still don't know? And she'd be like, Bridge, people can't read your minds. I don't know how many times she would say that to me, and it was so fucking annoying. But they should know, because I did this and I did that. I spray painted the dog poop pink. Lily! Just kidding. Lily, it's so funny. Inside joke. Hot pink, Lily. I know you see that shit right there. Literally. The Popeyes. But at the end of the day, there are so many people that get so mad at me, but they just straightforward won't say something to me. Why? I think most of it is because they're worried they're going to hurt my feelings or they're going to hurt our relationship. It's all out of fear, okay? When I'm guilty of that as well, is I have to remind myself, I love this person. This person loves me. Okay, I have fear abandonment issues. That is the core of my anytime I won't disclose something. But at the end of the day, if that person is meant to stay in your life, then you can trust that, right? And be open. And, like I will, if my feelings are hurt, okay, I will say, okay, I need time. Like I'm feeling defensive. I will say that. I sound like such a nerd when I've had to do this. I'm sorry, I feel really defensive right now. I should just say, I'm sorry, my feelings are really hurt right now. But then here's me. I don't want to hurt their feelings because they hurt my feelings. That's the whole reason they didn't talk to me. So I'll just say, I just need some time. I'm such an overthinker. But seriously, at the end of the day, it gives me time to really sit with that uncomfortable feelings and really marinate on my thoughts. First of all, put myself in their shoes, where they came from with this. I try to do that as much as I can pre-plan, but I'm not a fucking mind reader, Sarah. So just tell me.
Full circle.
Text it, email it, whatever it is, but put it out there so I know.
What's really
I
going
don't
on.
know what I don't know, and I'm back at you,
No, absolutely. And that's why transparency, again, is the key to everything. Transparency. Yes. But seriously, honesty, just being straightforward. But yes, sorry. Go right ahead. I do believe, do we have any more?
Oh, let's check out. No more comments.
No more comments?
Nope. They are ready.
Okay.
Time.
We are going to go into the memes. Yes.
Fantastic. And guess what?
What?
Sarah,
What?
check this out.
Oh, you got your sound effects.
Ooh, high quality.
Yes. Finally. You got him in the system.
Over ads.
What has it been, a year, Bridge? But it's there now.
It is there officially. Okay, first one.
Okay.
I'm so excited. I know a couple of them are definitely from you.
I was going to say, are these some of the ones I've been sending you?
This one's fantastic.
Oh, this is great. So it's just a quote from like
Random
Twitter
quote.
or something.
Yeah.
I can change him. Girl, did he shit his pants?
Oh, what's that saying? If you can't change people, okay?
No.
And if you're walking in, and here's what I would do. I would turn the other way. I'm like, okay, well, I'm just more ahead on my recovery path. It'll come to it. At the end of the day, I realized, why am I trying to do his recovery and support all his recovery, whatever? He needs to get on his own path. But I was trying to not necessarily change him. I figured he'd come on that change eventually. Fuck, that's a flag. You can't change anybody. They gotta want to change it themselves.
Absolutely. And you know that this has been my theme this year, especially in my own personal relationship with Dan. Yeah. Is like, because I find myself putting up expectations or expecting him to read my mind or these other things. And I'm like, why do I do this to myself? Because then at the end of the day, I'm angry about something he doesn't even fucking know about because we didn't talk about it. Or I want him to, whatever that is. I am not here to control him, to tell him how to live his life, what to do, and or especially try to change him. Mm-hmm. If I like him and I want to be in a relationship, that's because I found whatever it is I like. If I need to change him, clearly it's not the person I want to be with. Right. Period.
Right. Absolutely. And I feel like we both come off as like controlling whatever. But at the end of the day, really, I was such a people-pleasing person. Like nothing would sway me. Now it's just starting small in my own home. Literally, I'm still working on it, Sarah. It's just so much easier when you have 5 kids to just do it myself. But instead of doing their laundry, folding, putting away, now the laundry be done, I put it in a basket. I throw the basket in the room, whether it gets hung up or it's wrinkly or all that. That's on them, Just those little things of practicing that kind of stuff. But with the expectation pieces, now I don't. I just try to not even have any expectations. Yes. But I know what my core fucking values are.
Yes.
So that way I'll see if those align. Then we could go into whatever. Chance, girl, this shit is pants. Okay, it's a cat.
All right, it's a cat looking up. What if the reason you haven't found your soulmate is because you have no soul? Okay, this one's for me. I absolutely love this because this is me all the time. I struggle a lot with my depression and the whole purpose of being here in like this existential crisis that I never seem to fucking escape from. So this stupid thing about this cat's like, what if I just don't have a soul so I can't find a soulmate? And I'm like, I wonder, like, it makes me go into like this whole freaking rabbit hole of like, well, maybe that's why I can't do this because I don't have what it's literally a can of worms for me.
100%. And it's a cat. And there was moments where I'm like, am I going to be that cat lady? That's all I have. And that's why it's important to have friends.
Yes.
Right? Because I'm like, am I so cold-hearted right now? Like, am I so anti-love and hurt and whatever, broken and so happy with myself, I'm just going to always, just there's nothing in there anymore. It's cold-hearted. And I love that you and Holly, you're like, you guys are like, well, it's not that you're too picky or you're whatever. You just
standards.
have fucking standards now.
Yeah.
Boom, huge change. Okay, next one. Oh, can you see it?
Oh, good Lord. This is teeny tiny.
This one was submitted by a listener. She made it.
Okay, hang on, wait. I gotta just tilt your screen up.
cursive.
It's very dark. All right, so it's a beautiful image with a sunflower on it, and it says, sobriety is not a daily struggle, but it's a daily effort. I have to be proactive about my recovery. When I talk about it, I get a spiritual reprieve. If I am not reaching out to others, being of service, going to meetings, working the steps, I will eventually forget how bad it gets. I will end up thinking that the drug is the best solution to take me out of whatever momentary pain I'm in.
Who is it by?
Macklemore.
Macklemore.
Wow. Actually, that's beautiful. That's very well said.
Yes. And that was submitted, or I think made. It's a sunflower. It's the Field of Sunflowers by Al. Shout out to Al. We'll give him the full. But I got to give her credit because this is beautiful. She could make some money off this stuff. Okay. Very inspiring and very true. And like that he's one of us, you know.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. No, just words. You got to be careful of that. It's going to start doing
Yes.
everything.
You're never going to find sobriety surrounded by people who are not sober.
Mic drop. That's a hard truth. And at the end of the day, I realized I had to set everyone free. Because you can't change the people in your life, but you can change the people you allow in your life.
Also, I love the fact that you just spun that into a positive take about setting those people free versus ditching those.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that could have been said a very different way.
Yeah.
Very nice, Bridge.
What do they say about love? Like, if you're supposed to, like a bird, you let it go.
Yeah.
Because, take that space,
meant to
whatever.
be.
They'll come back.
Yes.
And if not, they got with someone else, another bitch that live with them. It was never meant to be. Now you know your answer. This one's funny.
Okay, I love this. We're sitting at an intersection with a sign, and it reads, "Get that tattoo. Your family is already disappointed." I love that so much. Yay. So accurate. Just because, you know what's even better? As a person covered in tats, my dad, he is very old-fashioned, but he is fairly, for the most part, like, he was very accepting and graceful about not getting married, like having a child out of wedlock and doing all these other kinds of things. He still will get mad at me and be like, "Oh, aren't you done with those tattoos yet? I don't even know why you needed those tattoos. You're already pretty. You don't even need blah, blah, blah."
He's just wired that way. That's so cute, though.
I know.
And here's the thing. For me, it really is like ink therapy.
Yes.
And each one that I've gotten there was a story or an intention behind it. I forget. Actually, I had to go donate plasma. I forgot all the tattoos. I was like, oh, yep, that's all of them. You got them all listed. And then as she was doing these, she's like, oh, but what about this one on your shoulder? I'm like, oh, I forgot about that one on the shoulder. Oh, I forgot about the other one on the shoulder, too. You see? Because I don't go around showing them. Like, I got them for me.
Yep.
And I get reminded. I'm like, oh, yeah, see how cool it is? I forget. But it's pretty funny. Okay. Oh, I think I showed you this.
Oh, yes. Oh, I love this. So there's a beautiful model with high-waisted pants, and she looks slim and petite. And it says, how other girls look in high-waisted pants. And then there's a picture of the SNL guy, and he's got a high-waisted pants, and he kind of looks like, oh my, yes, very frumpy looking. And it says, how I look in high-waisted pants.
Oh my God, I'm doing that 7-day try it for free, like Stitch, but Amazon Prime's version of it. It's fantastic. However, there's a couple of them. They look great at the bottles. I get them on. I get them at home. I don't. I'm glad I just tried this out. I ain't even walking out this room with that outfit on. Yeah, those high pants. No, not for me. Okay.
Oh, Kevin Hart. You mean you so mad that you told Facebook? This is great.
Oh,
you know how I feel about social media. And it drives me nuts when people spend so much time putting in fake emotions and efforts to persuade the people around them, whether they're so happy and in love, or this person's the worst person in the world and this is why. Like, just, oh my God. Pick a medium.
Yes, first of all, nobody believes your ass. First of all, the only time anybody even reads that shit is because why? It's entertaining.
Yes.
Ooh, it's gossip. Second of all, you're just putting a flag right out to yourself that you're the guilty party in that, because you're right away running to defend yourself.
Yep.
Now, I have put it out posts, but there was specific reasons. Well, there was a predator.
Did you say Pacific?
Specific. Hey, you say especially.
I bet
you
I
got
do.
that. What's that Minnesota one that we always
Oh.
over there or go far? I can't say it right now. I don't know. I think I'm changing it to change it,
Yes.
and I'm still saying it wrong. I think, but I think I'm saying it right.
Well, I say I saw now instead of I seen. I finally.
That's what it is. I still say I seen. I
Okay.
seen that. I seen that, and I also just have my own lazy slang. Okay, okay. Here's the best part. So many times though, I am the person. Okay, it's late night anyway. By the time what is it called?
Doom scrolling.
Doom scrolling. So that's the juiciest stuff. I will read that because guess what? 9 times out of 10, that shit ain't there in the morning. And those two show up together at the next meeting. I'm like, oh my God, but I know your business. But I don't respond hard, anything. I just know that it's kind of cute. It's kind of sad, though. You don't have no friends to be calling? Mm-mm. Okay, 2 more. Oh, this one, Jody. Shout out. I think shared.
Oh, this one. Okay. Yes, absolutely. I
right.
love this one. Alternative responses to I love you. Who doesn't? I know. Thanks. A horrible decision, really. Why? Laughs nervously. Laughs hysterically. Yeet. I'm sorry. Finger guns. My favorite's not even on this one, but that awkward moment when they're like, oh, I love you, and you're just like, me too.
Yes. I seriously love this. Oh my gosh. I gotta admit though, I was always the person to be like, I love you. You know why though? Because before I was very 0 to 10. So I'm all in the feels and I'm just gonna put it out there. Right? Now I'm the opposite. I back it up. Well, now I say I love you to everyone that I genuinely have love for in my recovery families, right?
Yes.
And I realize it makes a lot of people uncomfortable, which I feel that energy right away, and I'm like, ooh, maybe I should not. Nope, I'm just going to be consistently say I love you to all my peeps, whether they get in relationships or not, whether they're having a bad day or not, whether they're around different people. If you're in these rooms and, I know you, I'm going to say I love you. Whether, I'm not going to change that awkwardness because I mean it.
Yeah.
But if I don't know if I'll ever be in a relationship again. Let's just put that out there. But I'm just going to be definitely careful when I throw the L-bomb out again. Okay.
All right, is this the last one?
2 more.
Oh, 2 more.
Me
Okay.
and you.
I be texting my best friend, we got this, knowing we don't got this and we both need therapy. This is us every day.
Final one.
And last one. Stop looking for validation from people who aren't even valid. Ooh, that's good. I like that.
Right?
Yes.
So that is like a beautiful way. Usually I try to end it on like a more positive one, but this one I feel like is positive, but it's that hard truth again.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Who's worth it? Whose opinion is actually...
right. Is this person someone that you align with in your beliefs, in your core values, in your genuineness, Because otherwise, why are you asking for their advice? Why are you seeking their validation?
Yep.
And now, I make a point to have those people in my circle that I do ask and I do care what they think about me because of that, but I don't know. I always fear because of the fake notions of blood and family and all that bullshit.
Yeah.
They weren't there for me at the end of the day. They were hating on me from the get-go. Okay.
All right. So, thank you again for having me on the show. And I know...
Tell everybody goodbye.
Yes, we're going to say goodbye to the listeners. However, we are going to play the clip if anybody wants to stick around for a little bit and listen to this interesting take on the flying monkeys.
Okay. I'll play a quick 2 seconds. Okay. So yeah, everybody have a great week. Go ahead and return home. I'll check with you next week. And stick around for another 20 seconds, and we got the flying monkeys. Okay, just kidding. We're back. It's okay. Okay, here we go. So this is the point. The same video that I'll be sharing on YouTube. The top questions a narcissist can't answer. Spot the narcissist with Dr. Ramani. Here's where she talks about flying monkeys. Now, I see them all over the place. I'm still respectful. I still love and care about them because I just feel like they just don't have the capacity to understand their flying monkey poo-ness. But here's this is great. So if you're listening to this, you might right away be like, yep, that's who those friends are. Those are people that I put in my outer circle. Maybe you don't even realize that they need to be in your outer circle.
Or maybe you have a tendency to do this, and it's a red flag for you to pick up on.
Thank you. This is more the mindset of where I was going with this. So if you find yourself doing this, trying to be I can see both sides, grab whatever. If you hear any of this and you're like, but that's me, and you feel defensive, that's a red flag, motherfucker. Okay, here we go. Okay.
It may be. I don't know that if it's not inherently your nature, then maybe not as much. I guess the piece we always have to go back to is the radical acceptance piece. They're not going to change. So nothing you do. So if I scream at the sun and say, sun, I'd much prefer a few rows in the west. I'd love that morning sun on my face. My bedroom window faces west. And so I'd love to wake up to the sun. Scream at the sun, tell the sun to go F off. Sun's not going to start rising in the west. Same thing with a narcissistic person. There's nothing you're going to say to them that's going to change it. And I think that if a person's really getting into it with them, there must be some belief that things can be different. And I'm here to tell you things can't be different. This is it. And part of it is understanding what it is. I will tell you this though, Lisa, for a lot of people, most people, not all, but most, once they get out of a primary toxic or narcissistic antagonistic relationship, they start popping back to not being so combative, not, you know what I'm saying? They come back to themselves if that's not who they were in the first place. And frankly, the vast majority of people and narcissistic people aren't yelling and screaming. They're becoming smaller and smaller and shrinking and silenced, not getting into it with them. And not getting, not screaming and yelling. It's just not the norm.
Opposite
it's quite different.
Happens.
Yeah, most people get quite silenced. Yeah.
Wow. So if you're being silenced and you're over time really trying to build yourself back, you see everything that's happening, you've maybe missed the flags, but now you're seeing them, you're understanding the relationship you've gotten into, and you're starting to notice. And then I think you call it the army of the flying monkeys come at you. How on earth do you defend against the army of the flying monkeys? If you don't mind explaining what that is. And then...
Right. So the flying monkeys are the enablers around the narcissist. The people, I should say, who don't either get it, who are benefiting from the narcissistic person, who may even have some slight characteristics themselves, but they're still not aware and awakened to what all of this is. So they fall for the narcissistic person's manipulation and smear campaign. If a narcissist perceives that you've done them wrong, they're going to tell anyone who will stand still long enough. They'll do it on social media, they'll do it to people who they talk to, and they're going to get ahead of you on that. Listen, if anyone's in a relationship and their partner went around and said, hey, I just wanted to tell you, my girlfriend or wife was behaving in a really shady way. She was texting these guys. She was doing this. None of it's true. You don't even know it's being said. And everyone starts giving you the cold shoulder or is talking badly or rudely to you. Like, what? You're as confused as can be because a narcissistic person will have no problem actually spreading lies about you. And that's just, if someone's doing that, you can't sort of win at that game. So when that happens, I tell people those smear campaigns and that post-separation period, especially if you've ended the relationship or somehow you've angered the narcissistic person, and the smear campaign begins. And the flying monkeys are these people that the narcissist was able to manipulate and mobilize. You can't win if you try to take it on head on. You won't stop it. And this is not going to be that soothing for people. I say, but you just learned who your people are. Because if somebody who knows you could have been turned and manipulated that easily, they weren't yours in the first place. It's a way to clean house. Now that's destabilizing if that's a lot of people in your world, but wouldn't you want to know that now than just walk around in a fantasy for another 10, 20, 30, 40 years believing that these are your people, but they could have turned on a dime. I view it as like, I don't know, somebody coming and stealing all your stuff out of your closet. I'm like, yeah, thanks for getting rid of these clothes. They don't fit me anyhow. Bye. You know, it's a cleaning out. It doesn't feel that way. Initially, there's grief, there's trauma. Again, talking to someone recently who'd gone through a cult where there had been smear campaigns and all of that, he said actually more painful than going through the narcissistic abuse were the flying monkey friends and the smear campaign and losing these people I thought were friends. Because you may not have had a toxic thing with that friend until the narcissist got to them. And that's when the friend turns on you. Right? So you were friends, you were doing your thing, you were hanging, and then one day your friend is cold to you. And you're saying, what? And it's because the narcissist manipulated them. It's a grief like no other, because it wasn't about what happened between you and the friend, is that the narcissist was able to get in there. But it does bring me back to that point. How could the friend have been turned so closely? I want you to reflect on some of your closest friendships. I'm sitting here and reflecting on that now. And my closest people, and it's not a long list. I'm very discerning about who's on my list of my closest friends. I couldn't be turned. And if somebody came to me and said something like that, the first thing I would do is call my friend and say, yo, such and such just told me this and this. Talk to me, what's happening? I wouldn't turn on the friend and say, how could you? And believe some manipulative person. And so it becomes this taking stock of, this friend then thought I was capable of this. So it does become a new way of viewing it. I'm not saying you're not full of grief. I'm not saying you're not full of loss. But you've just learned something that you can never unsee.
Yes.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yes.
And at the end of the day, when that happened, it was hard because I thought all these friends, I'd built all these great empowering relationships with my female friends. And at the end of the day, I found out who was really my friends. There's a girl code, there's a great chapter, this book I read a little preview of, and it says, keep your friends close and your best friends closer. Enemies don't deserve that energy.
I love it.
And at the end of the day, I got you, I got Jessica, I got Andrea, I got key people when shit went down. Not in like a gossiping manner, but they would hit me up and say, hey, just so you know, this is what he said. Like they were a neutral friend of ours. This is what he said. This is what he's putting out there. And if it was something really awful, they'd be like, what happened? Or, they would actually, Jessica and them didn't even ask me. But it was like a heads up, a fighting chance. But at least they gave me the benefit of the doubt to hear my side. But actually, like Jessica, you, whatever, you're my inner circle people because you didn't even need me to defend myself or explain that situation, first of all. But at least you gave me the benefit of the doubt. And at least now I know who was so easily manipulated to the fact they're going to keep his truth, and keep that anonymity. People don't understand what anonymity is, by the way. Okay, meetings are meetings. But when we have a mutual, what I thought, friendship, and you aligned with that person, I know where we stand. And it made me realize, and here's the thing. I think I took it so personally because I am the opposite. Yeah. My loyalty is to my females. I don't care and I've had a couple of friends where they are the cray-cray ones. They're the ones that were cheating. They're the ones doing shady-ass shit, whatever. My loyalty, though, is to them first. And I'm going to find out what happened. I don't care about their boyfriend. I don't care about their partner. Like, if their partner's trying to come at me, like, I have my friendship with my friend. If they're trying to come at me, I'm curious about that. Like, I don't want to know about that. Like, I'm curious about what their intention is. But my friend, my loyalty is to my friend. First, whatever. Yeah. If it comes out later that maybe they were I've heard stories. But again, I aligned with my friend for a reason, and there's no question. And trust me, I've questioned some things like, I don't know what I'm about to do with this. Stuff's going to throw down. But my loyalty is to my friend until she gives me a reason directly out of her mouth, or it's not even always females, males too, or does something action-based towards me that loses my trust. That's when I'll put that down. But for the most part, if I have no reason, I'm not even going to listen to the other person, let alone whatever. But I will go be the first one to be like, ooh, girl, you know what he's saying now? You know what he just said now? Like, I want them to have the full information so they have the full story, because it is the worst when I was in the throes of my addiction, I couldn't remember the whole story, and everybody had a different version of my fucking truth. So I think everyone, even if it's painful, there's things I've maybe told you or just covered. You know, you love these people. You spent all this time or energy with this person. I know it might be hard to hear, but knowing myself, I want to hear the full truth. When I was first telling her some stuff about her dude was calling me and said these things, and I just wanted to let you know I don't care about a stupid surprise party he thinks he's planning for you. What I know from you and your sister, like, this might be, I want you to know the full information. You know, it took her a week or two to call me but she thanked me for telling me the whole truth, and turns out that was useful information. Sorry. Anything you want to say? Otherwise, we're going to let people go.
Nope. I will let this end. I think that's a great note, just to let people kind of think about some stuff. And again, thanks for having me on the show tonight.
Okay, and so final pro tip, if that was a heavy thing for you, go ahead and read Abby Hedon, Headon. The Power of No is a really short, simple book. It is not a fucking textbook, and I love this book. And everybody have a good night. Love you. I love you. Hearts.